Welcome back to the shop. Today we are going to take a look at Klein Ratcheting SAE wrenches. Now these are pretty interesting. They are the flat style, they are not reversible. They say they're 90 tooth, and we'll check that, but I'm sure they are. You get 8 of them. You get 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, ½ inch, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, and 3/4. These are made in South Korea, and they come with a roll, so you can put your wrenches in the roll, and that's how you'll keep them if you wish. They say they're ergonomic. We'll see how that is. They actually look pretty nice. They don't look too bad at all, and they're boasting the 90 tooth. I think a lot of them, the others, are 72 or less. Now there's a trade-off there. The finer you get with your ratcheting mechanism, sometimes the weaker it can be. So we will see how these hold up. But let's get them open and take a look at them. Okay, and we're back. So here we got them all lined up, and a few observations. They actually have a decent amount of body around the ratcheting mechanism. So I don't know what kind of ratcheting mechanism is in these, but there's a decent amount of space in there. Now, another thing is the collar here has some body to it, and some of what I've seen over the years with ratcheting wrenches, some of what I've noticed over the years with ratcheting wrenches is these will break. Now this one has a stress fracture in it. I think this was gear wrench, but you can see right here at this spot, this is pretty thin. Now that's nice for a smaller headed wrench, but it also creates a weak point. These have just a little bit more body to them. Here's the 9/16 on this one. And you can see, though it's 12 point, it has a little bit more body here. And I think it would probably put up with a little bit more abuse. Now, to talk about the 9/16, here's an old school Husky Pro. You can see the head is a little bigger on the new Klein than the older reversible even ratchet. So let's just look here. The maximum diameter is almost 1 1/16, and the maximum diameter on the Klein, you could probably say that's it's just about 1 3/16. It's right in between 1 1/8 and 1 3/16. I guess that would be 5/32. But there we have that. Now, overall length, the Klein is a little bit shorter than the old school ratcheting wrench. Thickness, they appear to be almost identical thickness wise. Depth of the jaw on the open end appears to be fairly similar. So overall, now this is chromed, which is your classic. This has this black finish, and honestly it has some texture to it. It fits pretty well in the hand, and I think if you had oil on this or anything like that, I think you'd have a better grip than you would with this. You can see how some of that looks. I don't dislike these. Now, they are not reversible like this older tool is, and that has its plus and its minus. If it's not reversible, you really got to be mindful about where you send these things in, because if you tighten something and as you're tightening you block off the wrench, you are going to have a really hard time getting the wrench out, if you can get it out. So be mindful of where you use these. If you block this wrench in, you can reverse it and run it out and say, oh, that was silly of me. But you can't do that with these. Now, that being said, normally the straight style wrenches are a little bit more robust than the angled reversible style. I don't know if it's because of the reversing paw or what, but broad brush strokes, just saying, straight wrenches tend to be a little bit heavier duty. Is that the case with these with the 90 teeth? Now, let's test that, the 90 teeth. Okay, so we're going to check the teeth on this, and this is not overly scientific, but if we hold this at a 90-degree angle with our finger, pull the wrench over, we should be able to count on this. It should be like 22 or 23. Because of the 90 teeth, it doesn't divide by 4 perfectly, but you get the idea. We should be able to count pretty close. So there we go. We had 22 and we're right in line. Feels like I could go like a half one, which is about right. Now, they're saying that most of the others are 72 tooth. Let's just check here on our old one. 18 indeed. So that checks out. Okay, so next up, we got kind of a fun little test that we're going to try. What we have here is a torquing screwdriver of sorts. Now this is just spring-loaded, so what we should be able to do is take the ratcheting mechanism and let's just see how much force it takes to turn the mechanism. So if I get into this and turn it, you can see we're measuring how much force it's taking to turn that. So we're right around 4, and that is 4 inch ounces. Now, what can we compare that to? Let's take our old school set here and see what we can do. Actually, let me put it this way so we're turning the same way. So our old school Husky set is about 3 inch ounces. So this turns a little bit easier than the new Kleins. This is also over 20 years old, so it's had some time on it. It's well worn in. And then we also have, make sure I get the direction right. We also have these old school Craftsman flat ratcheting wrenches. Let's see how much force these take. There we go. What do we take to turn that? So these are about 7 inch ounces. So these are quite a bit more. But now this is a much more robust ratcheting system. If we look at this and we do our test here, let's go. So that was actually, you'll hear 2, but it's actually only 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is 36 tooth. Half as many of this, and almost a third of these. So that's just some playing around. But overall, I think this is a pretty nice set of wrenches. I'll be curious to see how they hold up on the job site. They're kind of nice at a glance. They have the color coding. And I kind of like that this is coming into things because it's a nice, quick way of looking and figuring out what size you have. And now they finally came up with some sort of standard for the colors. your 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 9/16. Those nut drivers have always been these colors for a long time. And then the only outlier is the 5/8. Years ago, it was not violet, it was yellow. The 9/16 was always an orangish color. 11/16 and 3/4, there was no nut drivers readily available, those sizes, so that's okay. I like that. You can quickly identify and grab a tool. Last thing we want to look at is the handsome carrying case. So let's see how this looks. We'll get our wrenches in it. Now that's kind of nice. They have stitched in here a nice sizing. This is padded. This is made very nicely. It's got some grommets in it in the top. Though the grommets aren't necessarily the best, they're not bad. So let's see here how our wrenches go in nice and easy. Okay, so there we go. Now this has something that I think is a really nice touch for a wrench roll set. And that is that there's this piece here that if you were to hold your wrenches upside down, they're not going to fall out. Now when you throw this roll, when you roll these up and put them in the tool carry, this whole thing, you turn it this way or that way, your wrenches could fall out. So I really like this. I lost some wrenches years ago because of the wrench roll was either not tight or just whatever. I lost wrenches. So I think that's a nice feature. It's made pretty well. It reminds me of a canvas tarp of sorts. I believe this is designed to fold into thirds, just like that. It is not designed to be a roll, but everything is nice and tight in there. Let's hold this upside down and shake it pretty good. And let's open it and see. So we slid them down, but you can see they didn't come out. So that's a pretty nice feature on that. And I think that holds the wrenches nicely. Now, one thing that I don't necessarily care for is this does not say SAE on it because there is a metric set. So you know these are your wrenches, but do you know which size they are? So that's something, if I'm gonna critique it, that I would like to see SAE wrenches on the cover so that I know which set of wrenches I'm grabbing. It's a minor thing, but it is something that would be nice. So I hope this was interesting. I kind of like these. They're made well. Let's get out a larger one here. They're made well. They don't take up a lot of force to operate. They feel good. They have a decent texture to them. They're stamped. Not everything is laser etched, though the on and the off is laser etched. They probably will eventually wear off. The coloring here is probably just some sort of paint or something like that. That will probably wear off at some point. But as far as the sizing, that's not going anywhere. That's stamped in. It's not going to come free. You know, you're not going to wear that off. That'll stay there for a long time. So hopefully this was interesting. These are 12 point. They aren't 6. They aren't spline. They are just your normal 12 point ratcheting wrench that is straight. Does not have an offset. They're not reversible. They're your standard straight ratcheting wrench like some of these older sets. But they do have 92 teeth. So if you're in tight spots, these might be what you want. I'll throw them in the work carry. we'll run them through some paces, and we'll revisit this at some point. But as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.